'cause overland. Welcome back to the channel where we do rock sliders, custom, rock landing, custom, and some exhaust work, custom. All right guys, so you know that we threw this thing together in 30 days, and actually it was like 18 days. If I was waiting on parts, there was days I couldn't get stuff done. There's still a lot of little things that need to get done. Let me explain. We need to finish the frame stiffeners. Obviously, we need rock sliders. Ow. I may need to modify a rear bumper because I don't want this happening again. I do want to put just a small exo cage on this thing because it needs a little bit of support. Plus that gives me internal safety. You know, when Shannon and I are in here and we're doing something dumb, at least I know we have some protection. We also have a few interior things to do, and there's some stuff I need to do out here. If you guys remember, I kept Vern's mount that he made for this out here. I want to put the rooftop tent on here that we have, but before we do that, I want to modify some of this dead space so that we can actually utilize it for some overcrawling. I also didn't show you guys my 6 seat cover. Sick. And one of the things that I found that I'm doing to all my vehicles, and this is totally not sponsored or anything, but I'm buying these. They're only like, I don't know, 30 bucks on Amazon. Huge rear view mirrors, and they snap on. They like have this super grip on them, and they hold on there really, really well. I've put them on all my like wheeler rock crawlers that I drive. They're staying on, they're not falling off in my lap. They give me a much better line of vision in the back of my rig. Also, after testing out how my tire was mounted, my cooler's mounted, obviously I had 0 issues with this mount, so this was super sick making that. This toolbox sliding in and out, so I want to figure out a way to keep that kind of back there so it stays underneath the tool bed, or stays underneath there, along with figuring out a better way to hold this tire. And I think I want to move this back a little bit, get a little more space. Now when it comes to off-roading, here's one of the things that I feel is probably just shy of useless. Like when you've got a built rig, especially like this, like lockers and 37s and a winch, you very rarely are gonna need these traction boards. In fact, the times that I thought I would need traction boards, we put them into the mud and they just disappeared in the mud. But one of the things I think they're super useful for is actually to level your rig. So if you're camping in your rig, like you have a rooftop tent, these are probably the best things you can have because you can actually level your rig out and get yourself nice and comfortable. And you're not having to hunt down trees and logs to make yourself comfortable. I actually learned that with the Cherokee. These are amazing for that. So I'm thinking about mounting them right here. I got this nice dead space here and I can mount them in. Now I actually bought 4 of these. They come in sets of 2 or sets of 4, so I bought 4. You never know what you might need to level. I might be in like mushy ground and I want to hold all 4 tires, or I might be in some weird spot where I actually need to drive all 4 on one tire just to get my rig level. When I'm sleeping up here, I want to be as comfortable as possible. Not that I am opposed to tent camping in any way, shape, or form, sleeping on the ground, traveling and sleeping. I've done that for years and years and years. But if I'm gonna try to do the off-road glamping version, I wanna actually be comfortable. What I need, El Tapo measure. Yoink. I'm gonna do 4 of these. And it doesn't stick out, it's about 8 inches. So I'm gonna need to kick this back at least 6 inches or so inside this dead space. Put that there for now. Nice thing about that is I can actually put that back on the outside of these once I get these on. I'm also choosing the driver's side to do this because you really can't see out of this side. So when I'm looking back, I see back here. I don't really need to see this, but if I try to put them there, I'm blocking my line of sight. So I like the idea of having them over here. The other thing I thought about doing was hanging them like this. Just doing 2 and 2. Downside to that is if they're upside down like that, they're gonna fill up with like water and dirt, and I just don't want that. I think that'll be gross and extra weight. So if I have them sideways, they can get cleaned out and they're still out of my way. What is the total length of this? All right, just guess this bad boy. Pretty much exactly 5 feet. The nice thing about these is they like don't weigh hardly anything. They're extremely light. So I don't need to make like some big roll bar to put them together. All right, because this isn't like structural or anything, it's just holding up some pieces of plastic, I went with 1.25" tubing. I went with HRU, which is heat rolled electric welded. With that being said, I know I've shown this before, but if you're bending it, you want to have that seam on the inside of your bend. If you have the seam on the outside, you're always chancing it to split because that's where it's actually welded together. Other than that, I'm going with my good trusty affordable bender. If you guys are familiar with these, I use this. I built tons of cages with this, including the one that's on the Tea Party Rover. That thing holds up good. And these benders are made in America and they're affordable. And I can get you a 10% discount code. You just use the code Colt Builds It, get 10% off anything they got on the store. So you can see here, with this in line, we are at a direct 90. But one of the things you gotta remember with tubing is you always have spring back or kick back. Probably not a whole lot with this lightweight 1.25", but I'm just gonna go just a little bit past 90. We should be good. Perfect. So this thing has a 7-inch radius. I haven't bent 1.25" in a while, so I'm trying to remember off my head like what I needed. So what I did with the tubing is I went ahead and just marked every 6 inches up to 2 feet. So I have a mark here, 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 and here. I just took this to this mark, and it is exactly 7 inches from center of the 90 to right here where it continues to move straight, where there is 0 bend. So for me to match that, I'm just taking 7 inches out of my 5 foot. So I'm measuring from here, going over 5 feet, taking my 7 inches out, and we have our math. This is why I like bending vertically as opposed to horizontally, because right now I can just eyeball this tube in line with that bender. Need to tweak it just a little, but I can line it up with that bender, make my bend, and then we have a straight bend. Worst case scenario, you can always put an angle finder on the side of here and then on the side of the bender, and you know you're there as well. Scary. Look at that. Perfectly flat. Bam, bam, bam. All right, so we got our piece made. I did cut it down where we have 6 inches of clearance here, and then just took a grinder and just kind of wedged it in a little bit, because you can't get a bend like that, a radius bend like that, into a tube notcher. So I went ahead and measured the distance of that traction board and where the holes fall, and they're gonna fall right about here. So I did some red paint marks. I wanna leave a little gap. This is gonna be the front of the Jeep for my fire extinguisher. The mounting holes are here and here. So here's a little wing nut that they give you. It's kind of custom, and it is a metric all thread. I wanna use those, so I had to buy metric all thread. But that's not a big deal. I'm just gonna go ahead and make plates here for these. It comes with these little junky plastic ones. I am not gonna use that. And they're actually not even in the right hole spacing. They're slotted all wrong. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get on Fusion and make a couple of these. Basically, there's a 3/8 hole in American land.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
That metric all thread will fit in a 3/8 hole.
And totally redeem yourself!
So we got a 3/8 hole, 5 inches between the holes, 7-inch plate. That is what we're going to cut out to weld onto here. Bang. Shanna's getting me some water. One thing I learned here in New Mexico is water evaporates fast. Even old gas just decides to disappear on its own. So I find myself filling the table pretty often. But you guys always ask, what's this green stuff in here? This actually comes from Eastwood as well. It's like you mix it with the water, and it helps hold that metal dust in, so you don't have a bunch of metal dust flying up in your face. This thing is like become probably what's still my favorite tool in this shop. So I can make stuff just super quick. I mean, that's basically just a shackle that I made, but it's gonna work perfect for what we're doing. Bam. It's time to play with the new big welder. Never even used this before. Why not use it on that? I made this on that table too, which I think works pretty good. All right. I don't burn the precious ashy skin. Yes, I have ashy skin. All right, so now we have our center point. We have it pretty close to level, which will work just for what I need. I can always adjust this tube just a little bit and make it fit. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take these off. We'll burn the rest of it. Well, and that quick, it's already welding like a champ. Of course, I put it on auto set the thickness, and turned up the wire speed a little bit, but it was working pretty good. I can tell if I'm already doing that well with this welder. Once I start getting familiar with it, it's gonna be real nice. All right, so we got it mounted in. I went ahead and used this just to kind of hold it up. We got it welded up. I think it might be time to test it here in just a sec. All right, so I cut my pieces. The original pieces are 6 inches long, so I just cut 1 foot length out of that all thread. Now we will see how it looks. Hopefully we can fit them all in. They don't even stick out. And just like that, we now have our vehicle leveling mats. Look at that, they don't stick out. They're in a completely unutilizable space normally in your rig. Now we can go ahead and mount the fire extinguisher back on here. We got plenty of room for that still. And I can even put my trash bag back on the outside. No noises. That's a good thing. Good enough. All right, now you're probably wondering why I put a thing on this side. Well, this is the reason I did it over here, is because I have a stock of these Daystar cam cans. I put one on the back of RSS Cherokee, but I really never used it. So I kind of want to utilize these. And if I were to weld them in here, I think we'd have a nice spot for a few of them. But I'm not blocking all of my vision like I would have if I'd have put my mat boards on this side. So those traction boards would block all of it, where if I put these up, I still got gaps between where I can see things. All right, so we got these plates. We got these pins. We got to put these pins, or these posts and these plates, and then we got to bolt it up. So hopefully that'll actually go in. It's not wanting to go in. There it went.
Got it.
Then you got these little cam lock dealios with the world's smallest bolts. And just go in like that. All right, so we got these all buttoned up, but it's been so long since I've ordered them. I've literally owned these for years. We put this one on. This one's like Pinocchio length here, so I don't really like it because it's designed to hold 2 in one shot, but I don't like how far that's sticking out past my bed. Not that it wouldn't be bad for an overlander, but overcrawler, I don't really like that. So sticking to our Rocklander theme, we will stick with these short ones. So I only got 2 of these. I'll have to order a new stem like this that's short for a single one. So we'll go ahead and just put these ones on here. I'll just put one on each end, leave the middle empty for now. And I might even like it that way, actually, now that I think about it. That gives me room to actually set up my straps or whatever right there. All right, so I took the cardboard that this had in it, set it in there, I tacked it in. Now we're gonna double check, make sure everything clears without getting too crazy. Hopefully I don't break my tack welds. And see, I'm gonna hit right there. I'm hitting on the bed. So, modification 1 must commence. All right, let's try it with here. Now it clears good, no issues. So I think that is gonna be our sweet spot. So I got these tacked in, and then I went ahead and measured this. I know this is an 1¼ inch tube. I'm gonna do a 2-inch plate, and that way we can set this in and get some strength on it, because right now I just got it kind of tacked on the bolt head, which I don't really like that. If I'm gonna put water in these, I wanna make sure it actually can hold up. So, going back to Fusion. Make things. Frame 0. Perfect. Now I'll make 3 more. Look at that. Would you look at that? Just look at it.
Look at it, it's gorgeous.
That's perfect.
Beautiful.
Hold that in. These will definitely keep it from vibrating around when there's water in them. Whoop. And it's a new day, and Gremlins painted this thing. Just kidding. Shanna actually helped me get this plastic on here, and I just spray painted it last night. Let it sit. Now it's extra shiny, extra smooth. These aren't going nowhere. Got our little tabs welded in. Got our plates welded in. This thing's almost Overlander approved. Gonna go ahead and put our water jugs in here. It's funny, this one doesn't have a pour spout, and this one does have a pour spout, but I had to modify it. It like was offset in the wrong spot, so I couldn't get the lid to close and open correctly. Can't remember which way it goes here. Look at that. Yeah. Locked and loaded. Perfect. Got the little clips. Let's see, where did I put those? I brought them in last night because when we got the paint, had to run into town for the paint. I thought I got the same color that was, but it's a little bit shinier. And I somehow still have this whole pile, but this one doesn't shut worth a darn. The rubber's gone on it. It's been sitting too long. And then I got 2 little toolbox ones I got to figure out what I want to do with. But for now, those will stay. Told myself that too. I was like, I'm going to put these right here so I don't lose them. And here I am wandering. Oh, right there. On the ladder. Not that it needs these, realistically. Perfect. See how much overspray I ended up with. Actually, might have done okay. Look at how good that is. Oh man. You guys can just call me Robbie Layton. Look at that. Cool. Still got visibility on this side. I still have something I can put here if I want to. And we got a spot for our rooftop tent. The next thing I really need to do here is exhaust. If you guys remember the old exhaust, it was falling off. One of the things that you guys seem to really love is the exhaust I put on the S10. And I came out of the side of the body. So I'm gonna show you how to do that on a Comanche. The first thing we gotta do is get rid of all this poo, like that. That's poo. That's poo. That's a lot of poo. That's seen some rocks. Even this flange here is not looking super hot. You can see bolt through both sides of it. So I think we're gonna modify some of that. Might have to make some new flanges. Oh, bummer. Trying to do that faster-ish. That ain't happening. Ooh, man. I think that catalytic converter might be bad. That thing's already cooking, and all I did was just move it 5 feet for 5 seconds. You can just hear stuff falling apart in there. That thing's heavy. I'm gonna take that into the salvage yard, get me some money for that. We'll run a high flow cat. They're about 70 bucks. We definitely need a new flange here. This thing's just about rotting away. Wow. Holding a lot of crud in that cat. Alright, let's see. It's gonna be about right there. It's gonna be our sweet spot. Got a hole. Ooh, a little crazy. Got it. Shadang. In the attempt to try to find you guys an affordable welder that I think is good, I mean, if you're committed to like welding all the time like I am, then I would say, you know, always buy up. But I actually think this is pretty good. You know, I've had really good luck with a lot of Eastwood tools. This is their multi-process welder. So you can do MIG, you can do TIG, and you can do stick all in one welder, and it's actually affordable. I'm just playing with it right now, playing with the exhaust. It's working really well. If you guys know, if you guys pay attention, I got this old Lindy that's like water cooled. I use it for aluminum stuff, but I don't really want to change it out. It's nice to have stuff just dedicated to things. So I can use this TIG welder for steel work, along with this MIG welder for body work. I'm gonna put 6mm wire in it, or basically 023, 025 thousandths wire in it, so that I can do body work when I'm doing body work. If I have 2 complaints about this welder, it's not that the welding is bad at all. It's that the power is on the back side and the plug cord is pretty short. So that's the only 2 complaints I really have. Other than that, it's actually working really well. Like, it's TIGging well. I mean, this is a big gap to fill and it's kind of hard to see there. I had a smaller piece for my flex piece in the bell chamber. I was trying to kind of pinch the steel and then fill those plugs up. So it's actually working really good. I'm really happy with it. If you are interested in trying to get into welding, this is probably the welder you want to get, because I can tell you right now, you buy the super cheap ones and you get super cheap welds. Like, they legitimately suck. At least step up something like this, and then you can practice all the welds. So you can practice your stick welding, you can practice your MIG welding, and you can practice your TIG welding. And it's affordable, and it still holds both bottles. And they actually put this rack in to hold your TIG rods. A lot of great features. Good bang for buck. This is the only code that's different is Eastwood, and if you have to use the code COLTBUILDS10 to get 10% off. I'm genuinely happy with that. I love when things work good and they're affordable. All right, you can see how beat out this flange is. We're gonna go ahead and make 2 new flanges. There's my rough sketch. Perfect. It's all ticked up. A lot of you are saying, Colt, why on earth are you doing a cherry bomb or a glass pack? The honest truth is, in these Comanches, unlike the S10, I actually did use the cherry bomb version of their muffler, which I really like, including that bellow chamber on the side, which I really like. The problem is with these Cherokees and Comanches, there's not a lot of muffler space, and I don't want to have to try to fit a full-size muffler in there. You can see how bad that muffler's all hit up, and it's crushing things and make things not work. What I want to do instead is try a good old glass pack. I know that they're not anybody's favorite sound unless you're like 18. They were mine when I was 18. I think it's gonna give it a good sound, and if it doesn't, we'll just change it. So even though I made a flange for there, I wanted to make a flange for here. Now I only did 1/8 inch here as opposed to 1/4 because I'm just gonna weld it right to it. But I didn't realize that this is only 1.5 inches as opposed to 2.5. But you can see how bollered out that is. So I'm just gonna tack this on in its place, and we will have a nice good bolt-on flange. Once I weld this in, I'll weld around the outside rim here, and that should add some beef. The one plus side of having the plate with a bigger hole than here, I was able to just weld that in, just smooth it off real quick. Still went ahead and welded the outside ring. Should be good to go. Boom. In case you're wondering why I put this flex joint on here, it's because the bed is still separate from the frame rail, the unibody. So you can take the bed off. So I needed just a little bit of flex, just in case the bed flexes from the frame. Uniframe. I cut this out to fit and just kind of set things up. But I do want this flange on the inside. I have a beauty ring that goes on the outside. And the reason I want it on the inside is actually so that I can remove the exhaust if I ever want to, without having to cut it apart. I did modify this bend a little bit so it matches the bend. I'll do the same thing with the beauty ring that comes out for the outside of this. But yeah, once we get this in, we'll bolt in our muffler, and then we can figure out the in-between. Here, should fit over it. Yep. Alright, so now we got our perfect piece for this. It'll sit inside of here once I clean it up anyway, and then that will slide over the muffler. I think we'll have something. We'll find out. To the paint booth. Some of you guys might be wondering, why did I choose to TIG weld it versus MIG welding? Well, MIG welding works just fine for exhaust. The thing about TIG welding though is it guarantees I won't have a leak, and I really don't want to have a leak. You know, it's a pickup, so it's not as crucial sometimes as like an SUV, because we're gonna have a rooftop tent, because of the way everything's set up. I just want to guarantee that I don't have any leaks. Bam. All right. Those are wondering about the cat, because I shortened up the exhaust and my muffler. I don't have enough room between that and the muffler. I'm going to order one. I didn't expect mine to be bad, but man, that thing is bad. And I'm gonna mount it in here. So when I do it, I will put it in this side of the exhaust. Doesn't really matter because the O2 sensor on this thing is way up there. So I could put it anywhere in here and be just fine. But that'll have to be on another day, because I'm not gonna pay the price of buying one today. I'm definitely gonna order the one off of eBay. I forgot I need to remove this too, because my exhaust is now gonna come here and up through there. You gotta go. what is that, 1/2 inch? Well, it's a heavy half. It's 13. Now, if you guys remember, this thing just fell off. The exhaust is still on there, but I think I can reuse it. I just got to clean all this junk out. Good enough to weld to. Now, I have no idea how I got this lucky, but there was already 2 holes right there. These were the 2 holes I just pulled this out of, and it's already set up to hang that exhaust. Sometimes you win, I guess. Perfect. Yay. All right. Cool. It's gonna be one way in and one way out with that exhaust. There's a little bit of a taper there. I actually bent that flange just like I bent this flange. Should make this beauty ring look really nice. I just gotta get this cover off of here. Oh yeah, look at that. Shadang. We have a local bolt shop here in Farmington called J-Lu, J-A-L-U. They got great deals on bolts, and they have everything I've ever needed. Like when I needed the metrics all thread, they had the metric all thread, and I needed these little tiny stainless bolts because I want this to be stainless on the outside. They have those too. Oh, okay. Guess I better get one of these on at least, just temporarily. Bam. Yoink. Now we'll definitely use a MIG just to set the hanger. Rusty hanger. Perfect. That ain't going nowhere. I know I got 1,000 other things to do to this thing, but we gotta know. We gotta know. Ooh, baby. That sounds good. Oh yeah. Loud pipes save lives, by the way. Much betterist. All right, now into the important stuff, but I can't do this by myself, so I acquired some help. Skylar's gonna help me. I think his brother's here too. Let's get a rooftop tent on.
Under the plum tree. Oh.
You ain't gonna catch the job.
Thank you, boys.
You better blur me out.
No way I would have been able to do that.
We got tents, roofs, and things. All the extra pieces. Now, if I remember right, I just pop this out. somehow or another. There we go. 11 inches, 14 inches. So we need to come this way a bunch. If you guys remember this rooftop tent, it was on my Cherokee rat's nest, and I'll be honest with you guys, it was sitting a lot taller because it was on the roof as opposed to on a rack that's below the roof lines. I literally haven't opened this since I used it in a winter video I did many moons ago. Think there's anything living inside of it now? We're in. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, when Shannon and I slept in here, it was in the winter time. We stayed plenty warm, but this mattress sucked. I was talking to my overlanding buddies, actually it was my buddy Enoch, and he said, hey, take this mattress, throw it out, get you an air over foam one. I asked a few other guys, including Nate, what they like about certain mattresses. So I'm gonna get an air over foam. It's on its way. Hopefully it shows up soon. But nerdy overland things, I've actually been collecting all of these from just different places that I've been and different companies and stuff. Obviously I got Robbie's, you know, center force clutch. That's right, 3 pedals for life. Gambler. The Parthenon, my buddy John from Dirt Road Therapy. And this thing is all Velcro accepting, so I'm gonna Velcro the snot out of it right now. I guess now I'm gonna have to legitimately start collecting patches. Cause overland. All right guys, so we just got a few more things to do to this, and then we're gonna be starting on Matt's Suzuki Samurai, making the world's smallest wrecker. So there's a couple parts that I'm still waiting on that I have to go get. They're a couple weeks out, so it gives us just enough time to hopefully get this thing knocked in the head. All right, new day, and we have our bed. Air pump. Mattress. So like I said, talking to my buddies, they said that this foam air mattress is where it's at. This is Lost Horizon. That was the one that they suggested to me that's like affordable and good. I think I paid 150 bucks for it, but 150 bucks for a good night's sleep is worth it every time. Shutting. Okay. This stuff out. Let's see if we can get this mattress out of here. As you guys can see, what is that, like a 2-inch mattress? Maybe. That's just not thick enough for a guy with shoulders like these, I can tell you that. I'm a side sleeper and I was miserable because this is just not enough padding. And I think these actually take up less space in here, so I can hopefully leave our bedding up there too. We'll find out. I can tell you that takes up way less room in there. I'm letting it air up right now, and it's only that thick as opposed to that thick. Oh yeah. I can tell you for sure, this is 1,000 times better than what we had, and I'm not sinking into it all the way, but I have just enough cushion where I'm not sleeping on a rock. That's pretty nice. I could fall asleep right now. Better not though, gotta work. Sucked it back down and now I have more than enough room to put my pillows, sleeping pads, everything else in here. That's the ticket. So if you buy a rooftop tent and you don't have an air over foam mattress, I guess that's the secret that I never knew. All right, now it's time to finish up these unibody stiffeners. If you guys remember, I stopped right here. I didn't even get this welded in yet because I wanted to weld the inside. We have this part welded in, but I still need to gap this. We're gonna have to make a custom notch for this and even custom across here because really, these are only the same as a Cherokee about to here. And you can see I already took a rock right there. So I don't want any more of that. Plus we need something good to weld our rock sliders to. You know, this dent was already here pre-Vern. This dent was me. I think this was all Vern, but I might have added to it. I don't really know. And we definitely don't want any more of that because I want to try to keep this thing together as good as possible. Like I said, the first thing we need to do is get the rest of these Barnes Unibody stiffeners on here. This is this one. Oh. Gonna be cutting it up. Cutting it up. So next thing I gotta do is get this undercoat off. I'm gonna try to just heat it up and see if we can scrape it. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't, but let's hope today it works. So you see I haven't heated this up yet. It's not working there. But when I heat it up, for some reason it softens it up just enough where I can get it. Time to weld. Lots of little measurements. All right, now right where that support bar is where everything changes from a Comanche and a Cherokee. So all of this on a Cherokee, normally it has this dimple in here all the way across. From here out, this thing's square, meaning you pretty much can't run unibody stiffeners for a Cherokee past that point. So I just got 3-inch 3/16 angle iron and we're gonna make that work. Thing is I gotta modify it because this thing goes out and then over and then it has a little kick up right here. And obviously we got a notch out for this because I want to keep the body mount. It's not really a body mount, but a body support for the back of the cab. And we got a notch out for our skid plate bolt right here. The frame actually flattens out this way. So it's coming out like this and then it goes kink. So we got a notch out underneath as well. All right, let's see if I can do this without messing everything up. So I'm going to notch out this part where that taper is. We'll notch out this part for the skid plate. I'm going to cut out a few holes here just to weld to the body. I'm going to notch out this part where it comes in. I'm going to notch out this part where it's the body support. And then notch out this part where it turns up. Think we got it. Uh-oh. Fire. Do that every time.
I seem to recall somebody who likes fire.
See how good I guessed.
Good guess. Or skills.
All right, so we got pretty decent guess. I had to notch this just a little bit. Other than that, everything underneath's notched. We got our fill plugs, we got our gaps, we got our angle here. Everything's gonna work, especially giving this thing some structure. Also, if I hit rocks, I'm not gonna bend it all up. And I got stuff in my teeth. Yeah. Gross.
Yummy metal. Have you ever heard the new sport, quiet tennis? It's called tennis, just without the racket. Yes!
All right, we now got some structure. Now, we need to try to fix the body. I want that rock slider to follow this line, but you can see that it humps right here where this hit the rock. So I'm gonna try to pull this down using this. Hopefully this will work, because we got a lot to do on the other side. Ooh, got mad at me.
It scared me.
Think we're doing something.
It's definitely coming down.
Robbie'd be making fun of me. It's like, why are you using these old tools? That's what I got, bro. I think that's a lot straighter than it was.
That's like totally different.
All right, that's definitely straighter than it was. I think once we cut it, we can smooth that out. Now we got a lot to do on that side. Okay, so that is a lot straighter than it was, but there's still a long ways to go. So I think I got an idea. We just gotta go to the store. That's doing things. Whew. I am sweating up a storm. So like I said, I'm not too worried about the middle because that's gonna go away. What I'm worried about is the bottom seam. I want that to be pretty true. And then the top where the door runs. And both of those I got straight. Now if I were trying to get the rest of it, I'd have to pull the middle and do one of these numbers to get all that out. But we have a pretty good setup right there. It is finally time. Now I could go ahead and get this even straighter, try to repaint this and do a rock slider down here. But what I don't really like is, number one, my rock slider being lower, so that's gonna be dragging on more stuff. And I really don't like how weak the rockers are on these unibodies anyway. So why not just remove all this, put a rock slider in right here, and then we can tie it down to our stiffened up unibody. So, first things first, we gotta find a straight line. Don't you think All right, one side down. All right, so here's something that's different on a Comanche as well. This part of this pinch seam actually kicks out this way. So I had to cut it back so that we can get that rock slider in at the same depth. One of the things that I am happy with is the very minimal amount of rust that's in here. Like this is just, I don't even know if you'd call that rust, more or less just dirty metal. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with a rust prevention primer. That way it's just in there, and then we'll start measuring for our box. But we're gonna come right out of here with our box tubing. Need to grind that up just a little too. Ugh. 81 1/4. All right, so I'm gonna give this a 30-degree angle. This is obviously gonna be the bottom side. And the easiest way to do that is just set that up. You find 30 degrees there and you mark it. So all I did was come from my original line, 30 degrees back, 30 degrees back, and then squared it up. Pretty easy. Man, I am dirty. Look at my face. When I used to work in the oil field, they'd be like, how'd you get dirty so fast? I'd be like, I fall down a lot. I don't know. I would, no joke, get dirty within 5 minutes. That's why I don't own white shirts, for the exact same reason. I can't even leave the house and I'm already dirty. Pretty close. I'll have to hit it with a little grindy grind, but yeah, plasma. So at this angle, 2 1/4. This should still be 6. Yeah. Oh yeah, that, my friends, is how you make a nice looking end cap. I'll do the same to the other side, then we'll get this thing set up here. That's looking pretty close. I just got to bring it up a little bit. We'll see what we get here. Oh yeah, that is gonna be nice. The plus side is this thing still has an inner fender well holding this part, and then this part's held in on the inside as well So there really isn't gonna be any flapping here, but what I can do is just take a body washer and I can put that fender washer in and then reach behind here, drill a hole, weld the fender washer to the box, and then put a bolt through it. I've been asked that before, how I keep the front fender from flapping, and that's what I do with the front, is I just put a fender washer right here, weld it to the box, and then drill a hole and then run a bolt through. I think that's gonna work. Now I just need to paint the inside of that before I forget. Much better. All right, what we have here is the perfect rock slider. Now what I'm gonna do is obviously weld all this in, and that I'm gonna do something different, because if you guys remember this big welder, I got 35 thousandths wire in it. That's really thick. It's like good for great big thick steel, not so great for trying to weld to really thin sheet metal. That's why I have this Eastwood multi-process welder that I use to TIG the exhaust. I'm gonna use the MIG. I got 25 thousandths wire. 23 25 thousandths is all the same, including the 6 millimeter end. So if you have a metric end like this, you get a 6 millimeter tip for it, or you can get a 25 thousandths wire tip and run 23 thousandths wire, basically. So you kind of got a little bit of leeway in that part of one of these. But anyway, I'm gonna set this thing up, and that's what we're gonna use to weld this together. Now, you can see that we are right at the edge of the body here, and we are right at the edge of the body here. Our tube is square and straight. I went with 3/16 box, so it's a 2x6, 3/16 thick. And the reason I went with that thick of steel is because we're gonna be coming down on rocks on this thing. And I've seen 120 wall bend. I am not a fan. Anybody that does 120 wall rock sliders, they don't rock crawl. Like, I'm sorry, but they actually don't rock crawl, because 120 wall bends even on a buggy with not all this weight on it. And we're gonna overcrawl, which means we're probably gonna be carrying more stuff than we would rock crawling. I wanna make sure that I have it thick enough to handle a hit. Once we weld all this in, I'm gonna take this lip and fold it up against here. So that's gonna hold this up in here, and then we will have all of this to weld up. So I hope that makes sense. It's pretty easy to do. I've done this before on my Cherokees. I've never done it this way on a Comanche, so this is the first time I've done a Comanche. I always did it just lower because I didn't have crushed up rockers. You know, I can fold this up and get it close, but leaving a little bit of gaps here too isn't gonna be the worst thing in the world, because there actually is gaps in those pinch welds to let the dirt and stuff that somehow gets up in here, it can fall out. So we don't really want to seal the whole thing up completely. We just want to have it held up here. And then, like I said, we might do a little plate from here down to the body. So we'll just come down somewhere in here and just do a couple plates, and I think we'll be good. That's also gonna give us our platform for our cage, because we definitely need a cage. But you're just gonna have to wait till next time. I'm gonna get these things knocked out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out the website for all your discount codes, because like I said, any company that I work with, I try to get a discount code for you guys. It's on the website. I'll see you next time. It's also in the description right there. Bye.